Good morning, good morning, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We should be live. Let me check. This is not working. We should be live. Yes, yes. So it's my birthday. I guess we all know that. At least from the thumbnail and from all the posts I made everywhere. It's my birthday, and this is why I wanted to have with you all this celebration. I also have something to drink for later, even though it's 10 a.m. here, so I'm not gonna drink at all. I mean, I'm not gonna drink much, but I'll have some drink. Um, it's it's really nice to have you all here. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from, what city, what country, and this is still a live Q&A. So and ask me anything. So I would like you to have, if you have any question about DevOps, GitHub, Azure DevOps, DevSecOps, or anything about me and my career in DevOps, I'm here for you guys. So feel free to ask me everything or anything you want me to. Again, this I prepared a few questions that I've asked on either Twitter or Dev2 or other social medias. And by the way, if you're not following me in any of those social media, feel free to go over to any video description, and you will have all the links for all my social media platforms. Or if you go to the website coderdave.io, also you will have all the links for the social media platforms. So yeah, I know that a lot of people can't make this stream because it's not the usual time. Usually I stream at like 10 p.m. my time, which would be around 10 a.m. Eastern time in US. But that will, they'll always cut off all the friends from Australia. This time I decided to stream in the morning my time, which means that there's a lot of people that cannot make it. Probably people from India cannot make it, but I hope that someone from Australia will be able to make it. So this is the reason why I ask in the social media platforms if anyone has questions that I can collect offline, and I have a bunch of questions, but of course I would prefer answering your questions live while celebrating my birthday, right? I want to start before starting with the questions. And as I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. The super chat is available if you wish to give me a donation for my birthday. Just only if you wish to. And before starting with the questions, I want to first of all thanks all of you to be here and to support the channel all the time. Hi Kane, thanks for the birthday wishes. I want to thank everyone on the channel for the continuous support. And I was really surprised. If you guys have seen recently, I published a video about how the cryptocurrency mining is killing the CI/CD, especially the free platforms. It's one of the latest video I've made. If you haven't seen it, go and check it. But it's amazing the amount of response and engagement I had on that video. And when I posted that video, I also posted an article about the same kind of thing on Dev2, where I normally post articles and blog posts. And I had that post blew up. I had 10,000 views in a span of 3 days. And a lot of people that just now realize what's going on, because everyone has noticed the slowness of the platforms and what's going on, but no one knew actually the reasons why those things were happening. So I had a lot of support on that video and post, and I hope that now everything is more clear of what's going on in there. And even though it's a very sad thing, right, if you think about it, but it is what it is. Happy birthday also from Bing, I guess. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Sorry for that. Thank you for the wishes. All right. So before I start with answering, as I mentioned, I do have a small celebration bottle here. So I wanna open it, live with you guys. Hopefully, I will not make a mess. And then I'll go into the question and answers. Let me know again in the comments or in the chat if you have any specific question you wanna me to answer. Oh, this is weird. It's a plastic top, plastic cork. Let's see how this works. Oh, it's a screw-on type, I guess. Yeah. All right. Oh, that was easier than I thought. Normally, when I open those bottles, I make a mess everywhere, but this time it's better. I didn't notice it's a screw-on cork, and yeah, as I mentioned, it's like 10 a.m. here, so I'm not gonna drink that much, but I just wanted to celebrate my birthday with all of you guys, and so yeah, cheers to me. If you have any coffee or wine or whatever you're drinking, just make a toast with me, and happy birthday to me. Not too bad, actually. Oh, hey Sid, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the birthday wishes. As I know you are in US, so it's evening there. So if you have any beer or anything, just cheer with me. Oh, and Kane is cheering as well. Thanks, mate. And you're cheering with coffee, wine, and beer all together. I hope no, but yeah, whatever you like to drink. All right, so this is supposed to be a Q&A, so let me go into some no, before I start with the questions, another thing I want to ask is I try to, and I will try to put on some different content on the channel. I've been focused mostly on Azure DevOps and GitHub, and that of course will still be my one of the main lines of my channel. I try to focus also on DevOps in general, about methodologies and context, and things around DevOps, and I'll have more videos coming out on that. But let me know either now in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this later, if there's any specific kind of content or type of content you would like me to cover. And I'll try my best to see if I can make something on that. I know that every time I post a video, I have someone commenting, but can you make this, can you make that? But if I can have like some more suggestions from you guys, that will be beneficial for me and for you as well. And happy birthday from Chasword 1979. Thank you very much. I'm happy to see you all here. You're Kane and Sid and Chasword are my strongest supporters. You've been on the channel for a long time already, so thanks for your support. All right, so let's jump into some of the questions. As I mentioned, I ask in some other social media platform also for questions to be answered during the live, and I have to say I had some pretty interesting questions. So I'm gonna post them in the chat myself, since I know those people can't be here, and I'll try to answer that live. So Shai from the Dev2 platform asked, there's a lot of overlap between Azure Pipelines and GitHub Actions, and they basically both do the same thing in a different ways, but the duplication is kind of odd. So will Microsoft converge on those two? And the answer is no. I think I said it multiple times during the live streams, because and not only during the live streams, because I often have these kind of questions, but GitHub is GitHub, Azure DevOps is Azure DevOps. The two platforms are different and will still be different going forward. There's a lot of integration points you can use. I have that covered in several videos, but you can use Azure Boards with and then committing to GitHub and then doing CI in some place and CD in the other place and vice versa. So they are highly interoperable, but the two platforms are two different platforms. So no, the two products, at least for my knowledge, will not converge anytime soon, and I actually don't think there is any plan to make them converge. So I agree that the duplication may seem odd, but you have to think that they are two different platforms, right? So not everyone wants to use Azure DevOps, not everyone wants to use GitHub, and maybe someone wants to use both GitHub and Azure DevOps together. And the thing there is pick the right tool or pick the best tool for you for what you have to do. I was a great supporter of Azure pipelines, but now I'm moving more and more towards GitHub Actions, because they are getting more mature, more feature complete and everything. There are still obviously differences, many differences, but I think as I mentioned, the thing there will be try to get the best tool for you for the job, and that may be either of those. Sid is saying, video concept, anonymize case studies from your professional work, if you can convince Microsoft GitHub to allow it. Yeah, I actually thought about that, and there are things I can say if I don't say the name of the client, and I may do that. On the other side, there's some other things that even if I don't say the name of the client, I can't really talk about. So I really need to be careful on finding the right balance. But that is something I'm actually already thinking of doing. I need to find obviously things that are that can be interesting for my audience. A lot of times I do think that are very, very client specific, but that's a good suggestion. Thank you. Oh, and I have a super chat from Chatwords. Thank you very much for your super chat. It's really, really appreciated. And your question is, do you think Microsoft will have their full complete Linux GUI finished when they release Windows 11? That's a great question, and I have no idea. I know that there is a lot of development going on, especially in WSL2. I read some silly article saying that basically Windows 11 is just Linux with the Windows interface. That obviously it's not true. And if you've tried Windows 11, I'm on Windows 11 right now. It's obviously not true. But I don't know if Microsoft is working on a Linux GUI. Also because if you think about that, I don't think it makes very much sense. Now with WSL2 you can run your GUI Linux applications inside Windows. There are still, of course, few limitations, but in general it works fairly well, I would say. So again, I don't have any information about this, but I don't think there will be anything in that direction. Sid, yeah, is looking to try and do similar thing, but yeah, it's everything needs to come together, right? You need to find the right things you're working on that matches what you want to deliver, because maybe something, I have a lot of interesting things to share, but maybe it's interesting for me and not for the audience, or not for you guys, or maybe it's not that interesting anyway. So yeah, it needs to be all aligned, I guess. Kane, what feature of GitHub Action are you surprised more people aren't taking advantage of? One thing that a lot of people asked for, and I see not very much usage, is the environments. We announced, or GitHub announced environments for GitHub Actions back in December, I believe, in Universe. And of course, there's been adoption of environments, but I thought that would explode, and every client I would go from that moment on, they would be using environments, because every enterprise client, and I work mostly with enterprise clients, every enterprise client was asking for that. I've been asking for that for the longest time, and it's very surprising seeing that the adoption of that is actually not as high as I thought, and that could be for two reasons. The first one is that Action didn't have environments for a while, so people started finding like workarounds to do that as well. But on the other side, I guess it's the fact that it's only available in public repos or in enterprise cloud. If you have private repos even in paid plans that are not enterprise cloud, you don't have that. Now, with that said, a lot of clients that I work with, they use enterprise cloud. But I think it's more a mental barrier saying, I don't know. That is something I'm very surprised. And yeah, that's probably the most surprising thing to me. And you're right. I mean, environments are a great thing. They are not as feature complete as, for example, the environments in Azure Pipelines, but finally you can have approvals, you can have many other things, and soon through the APIs you will have even third-party tools, like think about Sonar Cloud or any scanning tool being able to promote or not a deployment to an X environment just through that. So that's really a good thing. Hope that answer your question. Moving on to the next question. This I had from a YouTube video, and Alim, I guess, was asking basically how about the encryption of file of GitHub repos. And the answer for this is that this is a feature that I guess passed quite quiet when it's been announced, but actually GitHub has encryption at rest for everything stored in GitHub since May 2019. So it's more than 2 years now, and there is this encryption at rest on everything stored on GitHub. So be assured that everything is encrypted, at least at rest. And of course, it's also in transit because everything works in HTTPS. The only thing that may not be encrypted in transit is if you use Git over HTTP, but I guess no one is using that anymore. So you should at least use Git over HTTPS, or if not SSH. So that would be encrypted as well. Another question from Kane is, how are you using learning to stay on top of your game? That's a very interesting question. I think I answered that already in the last stream. So what I do is I watch content. I'm a big fan of reading, but I find reading technical texts or technical books quite difficult for me, quite challenging. So I love reading normal books, but technical books not that much. So I'm not a good reader in that sense. But I do watch content and I keep experimenting. And with the kind of work I have, it's required for me to keep learning and learning, because today I go to a client and they use one technology stack and I stay there for a week, and then next week I need to work with another client. They have a completely different technological stack. So it's more learning as you go, trying to learn as much as possible, trying to experiment as much as possible when I'm not at a client site, for example, or in a client call or working with a client. And that's the way I do it. And of course I follow Sid at the DevOps Directive. I watch all his videos, so you guys need to watch his videos as well. That's not bad for a plug, right, Sid? But yeah, I know that other people find reading technical books or technical texts really effective. It's just not how I prefer doing things. Let me drink something else. It's getting very hot here. I have already 28 degrees Celsius in my office right now, because I had to switch off the aircon not to have any noise in the background. Oh, this is interesting. If you could change one thing about GitHub Action, what would it be? I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a huge .NET supporter, and GitHub Actions work very well for .NET Core, but the support for .NET Framework, the usual .NET Framework, is not that good. I mean, it works perfectly, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work out of the box. You need to set up .NET Framework and do other things. So I would love that to be more first-party citizen, if you will. But apart from language or framework support, I think there's not much I would change. One thing that I wish GitHub Action will have very soon is the same kind of mechanism for pre-deployment and post-deployment approvals, and especially gates that Azure Pipelines has. For the gates, as I mentioned, there is something coming because the APIs for the approvals and the environments will serve a similar purpose, but will be more third-party tools that will integrate with the APIs. As far as I know, I don't think there will be anything as complete as Azure Pipelines, at least for the moment. So that is the one thing I would like to have in GitHub Actions, because that's super powerful. I've done things in Azure Pipelines with clients before using those approvals, pre and post approvals, that it's not very hard, but it's hard to do in GitHub Actions right now. What about you? What would you change if you had the chance of influencing the engineering team? Let me know. I'll go ahead with another. This was I believe, kind of silly question, but from Dev2 and Welly asking, when can I get the chance to try GitHub Copilot and Code Spaces? I'm dying to try that out. So obviously I don't manage the whitelist or the waiting list for those products, and I don't know what the status is. I know that for GitHub Copilot there's been a huge interest from the very beginning, so I'm not sure how they are planning of enabling more users. I know there's a huge waiting list, and I know they're working on that, but I have no idea on the actual quota of people that can make it to the beta. I think they will open to everyone, but it will take time, so I don't have more information on that. On Code Spaces though, the only thing I can say is stay tuned in the next few weeks. You may see something on my channel around that, so I can't say more than that. Okay, today you have a lot of questions. I like it. What's something you're excited about in the world of DevOps right now? Good question. I think what I'm excited about is nothing related to technologies or anything, is seeing the adoption curve that DevOps had in the last year. Because if you look at all the, I always look at the DevOps reports that every year a lot of organizations put out, and in the last year you've seen a massive increase on adoption, and that means that more and more companies are doing DevOps, or are having more quality in their products. They are having more agility. They're having more velocity, and that is what excites me the most about DevOps, because it's seeing all those people and what they can do with adopting those methodologies and things. Technology wise, there's so many things going on. There is no, I can't pick one thing I'm more excited about. I can't think of anything right now. Maybe it's the maybe it's the sparkling wine. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's so much things going on, and I can't really pick anything. But the adoption per se, it's something I'm really excited about, because myself as a DevOps architect, I'm all about adoption and helping people adopting DevOps better and more efficiently. So whenever anyone adopts DevOps, makes me happy. Code Spaces I've heard of, but Copilot, I'll have to check that out. Thanks for mentioning. Oh, no worries. I mean, it's been announced, I guess, last week, and it's basically a way to automatically generate code based on AI. So there's this AI model that scans all the repos, all the open source repos in GitHub and other places, and is able to produce code fairly efficiently. I don't have a video on my channel about that. I didn't make one. There's a lot of other content though, and also if you check DevOps Directive, Sid is here. He put out a nice video on trying to solving code challenging using Copilot, and the result is interesting. I feel like I'm doing a lot of promotion for Sid today. I don't know why, but yeah, he has a nice content, and he's a nice guy, so he deserves it. So let's move on. Oh, let me address something else before I take Kane's question. This is similar to actually what I answered before from Sean in Dev2. Basically, what's the future of Azure DevOps in relation to the GitOps feature growth? As I mentioned, the two platforms are there to stay. I mention this every time. There's no plan that I'm aware of deprecating Azure DevOps, and there's, if you look at the TNCs of Azure DevOps, there's a lead period that Microsoft has to announce the deprecation before they can actually do anything, and we haven't seen any announcement yet. And if you think that Azure DevOps is being used, and it's currently used by thousands of enterprise around the world, including Microsoft itself, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And if I have to guess, it's not going anywhere ever. So don't be afraid of that. Of course, GitHub, the majority of the investment is going towards GitHub. GitHub is growing in features, in adoptions, and so on and so forth. So most of the love will be directed towards GitHub, but Azure DevOps is still in active development. It's not just in maintenance; it's actively developed. So that's don't be too worried about that. There will be even more integrations between the two tools or integration points, but as I mentioned before, the two tools are not gonna merge. Let me take one more from Vadim. Just will say must sign off now. Glad to see you here. Thanks so much for your support again. And if you want to be alerted about the live streams, just go to the website, go to coderdev.io, and you can you can sign up for the newsletter, and I send out every time I go live, half an hour before I send out the streaming alert, so you will be alerted that I'm going live. So what I was talking about, this is Vadim on I think it was on YouTube, and it asked a tricky question. I had a video about, I guess, a couple of months ago, talking about Azure Pipelines agents and running them on containers and so on and so forth. And he's asking how many Azure Pipelines agents I can run on one machine with Docker. And of course, if you know anything about Docker, you know that the answer of this is it depends, because it depends on two main factors. First one is how big your machine is. So if you have 32 cores and 64 gig of RAM, of course you will be able to run more agents. On the other side, it depends also on what you have to use those agents for. I would say the bare minimum that you should allocate to an agent is 1 CPU and 2 gig of RAM. If it's Windows agent, maybe a little bit more. So that will be your bare minimum. But of course, if you need to build a Node.js application, you probably need more CPUs, because if not, it will take a long time. Or if you have a big Visual Studio solution or .NET solution or whatever else that is more memory intensive, 2 GB of RAM will not really be enough. So you need to consider all of those things. You need to experiment a bit with the size of your agents, and possibly you can have different size of agents or different pools. So you know that you have the bigger agents for bigger builds, and you have the smaller agents, and you can have more of them in a single machine for just deployment, because the deployment tasks usually don't take much CPU or RAM usage. So the answer, as always, is it depends, and it depends on your usage, use cases, and how big your machine is. Let me go back to Kane, and it was asking, what's an example of GitHub action that has provided the most value? I would say so. Before picking a specific example, I would say that lately I've been working a lot with clients moving from Jenkins to GitHub Actions, and usually from Jenkins files and scripted groovy things. And what I found out, and what we found out with the client, is that usually a huge Jenkins file with a lot of Groovy translate to a fairly simple GitHub action workflow with just a fraction of the lines of code you would need to do in Jenkins. And again, in GitHub Action, there's a lot of ways to do scripting. We don't have anything like Groovy, but some things may be simplified, and that provide a lot of value because you have less code to maintain when you have it on your repos. If I need to pick one specific GitHub action, let me think. If I have to pick one GitHub action that has provided most value, it's probably the GitHub action that integrates with Key Vault in Azure to consume secrets. Because as you probably know, in GitHub you have the action secrets or the repo secrets or the organization secrets, but there's no way to centralize secrets. Like for example, in Azure DevOps, you would have the variable groups or anything like that. But the Azure Key Vault action in GitHub, it works very well, and it basically allows you to consume those secrets from your Key Vault and inject them as environment variables as secret environment variables in the GitHub workflow. So that is the one that helped the most, because a lot of clients I work with have the need, and everyone should have that need, to store the secrets in a secret place. Raja's asking deployment group versus agent pools. I guess so that will be a long discussion, but the short answer is deployment group is a way for you to put together your destinations, so your servers, for example, and to use one single deployment task to deploy, instead of deploy to a single server, which you will need to replicate that task to deploy to all your servers. But you can group those servers or your destinations and deploy with a single task to that in different ways. Can be rolling, can be you can even set a percentage, so you can deploy to 20% and then to other 20% and then to other 20% and roll back if it's broken. So that's deployment groups. Agent pools instead is not on the destinations, but is on your agents, the agents you use for doing build or deployment. And that's still a grouping, but it's a grouping for your agents, meaning that you can define different pools of agents, different groups of agents based on, for example, permissions or based on technologies. What I mean by that is what I normally suggest to the client I work with when we go for Azure pipelines is, for example, if you know that you have some teams that need to build Java applications and some teams that need to build, .NET application, you can either have, a single pool of agents that have both Java and .NET installed. No one say you can't. But then you may have these teams competing for those agents, and you may have situations in which the agents are not available. So what I would recommend is, you create one pool for your Java builders, one pool for your .NET builder, and you allocate them to the different teams. Or another thing you can do, you can have agents that are pooled based on what they have to deploy to. For example, you probably don't want to have all the agents open to all your environments, especially production, for security reasons. So what I normally recommend is you may have a pool of agents that allow you to, or they are open to deploy to dev, a pool for test, a pool for QA, depends on how many environments you have, and then a more secure pool of agents that have access to production and something like that. So that, again, the deployment group is more for your destinations, a way to group your destination and have multiple deployment strategies. For agent pools instead is a way to group your agents based on technologies or scope or anything like that. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is from Brano, still on Dev2, and he's asking, can you tell me if it's possible to secure Azure DevOps with multi-factor authentication? Absolutely, it is. Of course, you can do it on the Azure DevOps directly, but the way to do that properly would be to have integration with Azure AD, because when you have integration with between Azure DevOps and Azure AD, you have not only multi-factor authentication, but you also have the conditional access and so on and so forth. Of course, if you use the free pool, the free tier of Azure AD, you don't have conditional access, but you have multi-factor authentication, and you still have all the management of users in your AAD instead of directly in Azure DevOps. And talking about this, I do have a video on the channel, a video about, again, also a couple of months old, which talks about how to secure an Azure DevOps organization. And some of the tools are, some of the tips are about securing that with Azure AD, including enabling multi-factor authentication. So I would recommend you to check that out. Will be funny then when I finish the stream. I will need to link the specific moment in which I answered those questions to all the posts in Dev.to. That will be a lot of fun. Let me get a sip. All right. I do have one more question that I received offline. Let me know if you have anything else for today. So this is a question from YouTube. I had to edit it, and then I'll give you some more context because the question was really long, from Jir. And he's asking about the needs clause in GitHub Actions. So he's saying, if I have a job A and I have another job B, that have a needs clause and it needs job A, do I have job A results in job B automatically? And I also misspelled automatically, I just realized. So if you don't know about the needs clause, it's something that you can add to a job to tell that job to wait the results of a previous job or an execution of a previous job before starting itself. So the context about this was that he has some let me check. He has some Yarn build, and he has one job that does the Yarn install and Yarn build, and then he has another job, and in that job he wants to be able to use the output of that Yarn build and Yarn install. So he was thinking that putting the needs clause on the second job would allow him not only to wait for the previous job, the one that does the install and build, to finish, but also to automatically get the results of that job in the new job. Unfortunately, it's not like that. So the needs does concatenate jobs, but you can think of jobs like running on different machines. If you do an operation on one PC and then you go to another PC, you will never find what happened in the first PC, right? Exactly the same thing happens with jobs. So you will not have the output of the job A into job B just because job B have a needs for job A. The only way to do that is if you publish your artifact or if you upload your artifacts on job A and then you download it, you consume those artifacts in job B. That's the only way you can, share these things across the different jobs, or share files, or build results and anything else. That's the only way you can actually do that. Hope this is clear. So I finished the questions I had saved, I had received offline. Let me know if you have any other questions in the chat. If not, I will close in a few minutes. But I will pour a drink again to myself to celebrate my birthday. Thank you very much again to be all here with me for my birthday. I really appreciate. I know, as I said before, this is not the usual time, but thanks for being here. The wine is getting kind of warm, so it's not that nice anymore. Oh, that's an interesting question. Kane, what's one bit of advice you'd give a younger version of yourself on the journey to where you're at today? Don't be so stubborn, and don't think that mastering just a specific aspect of DevOps is enough to have a DevOps career. when I started, and I talk about this in a video I made I think more than a year ago, with other DevOps experts, talking about the mistakes we've made when we started our DevOps career. And one of my mistakes is that I was really, really good in source code management, all branching strategies and so on and so forth. And so I thought that the transition from that to a full DevOps career would be easy for me. Boy, I was wrong. I was wrong. It's, in DevOps you need to know so many other things. And I knew few things about CI/CD, I knew few things about work management, but from that and thinking you can be very successful at DevOps, it's two different things. So my advice to myself would be, try to learn more before attempting to a career switch like I did, or like I tried to do, which was not very successful at that point. But that would be the thing. You need to know, especially in a position like I'm now, like a DevOps architect, and I talked about that in the last streaming with my colleague Miki. We need to jump on many different things. We need to talk about work management. We need to talk about organization structure with the CTO, and then we need to talk about why that debug problem happened in GitHub Action with the newest DevOps engineer that's been just hired, and everything in the middle, tests, security. So there's so many things in DevOps. So you need to be able to learn those things. And of course, you cannot learn everything from the beginning. That no one could do that. You need to learn along the way. But just don't think that mastering one thing means that you'll be good at DevOps, right? That's my advice I would give to myself, because I failed, and I failed hard that time. I was really wrong. But thanks for the question, a really interesting one. All right, so oops, not this one. Thanks for the wisdom. I don't think I'm a wise person. I just experienced that on my skin, so that's why. All right, guys. I think I'll close it here. We are about 45 minutes in. I just want to say again, thank you very much to every one of you to be here, and I hope this has been interesting to you. And yeah, I hope to see you soon on the channel with videos and live streams. And if you enjoyed this video, just like it and consider subscribing if you're not yet, because like 80% of my viewers are actually not subscribed, so why not subscribe, right? All right, thanks to you again, thank you all again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.